Hi everyone, welcome back to another video and welcome to my cottage garden on this beautiful winter afternoon. I have myself a cup of tea and I, to be honest, have been finding it kind of difficult to get some filming done, get some gardening done, and just generally do anything other than taking care of Grayson, which is just, the season of my life right now. And yeah, it just makes it a little bit challenging to film YouTube videos and create content. But I still do want to document my garden and share what's going on. So I thought today I would just come out here with a cup of tea. Grayson is napping, Scott's looking after him, and I can just have a chat about my garden, kind of have it as a little bit more of a podcast style to catch you up on what's happening in the garden. And I will include a few overlays that I can film over the next few days. So if you yourself have some gardening to do or some cleaning or cooking, or you just want to sit and relax and have a cup of tea and listen / watch a little garden walk through, then this is the video for you. So make sure to grab a cup of tea and probably a snack as well. If you are new here, my name is Robyn. I live here on the south coast of New South Wales with my partner, our 2 cats, and our 7.5-month-old baby boy. And I love to garden. I love to grow plants. I love to apply permaculture principles to my garden. We love growing as much food as we can, and also had a small flower farm, which we're no longer doing at the moment, just with time. One day I would love to revisit that, and definitely will. But I'm just growing flowers on a much more smaller, manageable scale at the moment. And I kind of focus on the cottage garden behind me to grow a lot of our food. I thought this video I could kind of touch on just what is self-seeding right now in my garden and how I incorporate biodiversity into my cottage garden, and just have it as a really low maintenance garden. I don't really think a no maintenance garden exists or is a thing, because plants, if you're growing them in a space where they're not growing themselves, always need tending to and care. But this garden really is low maintenance, and we do manage to grow quite a bit of food in here, quite a bit of like medicinal plants that really help with health, and that you really don't need a lot of space to grow. So behind me here, I have, I've kind of sectioned this garden into 4 different garden beds, and that's just how I created it. It does look a little funny because it's just kind of like a garden and then it goes into grass. And basically we don't own this property, and there's limits to what I can grow and where I can grow in this property according to just like, who owns it basically. I don't want to encroach on the entire property with a garden, because it's like, it costs money to run a garden, and it's not our space. So we are planning on moving. I know I say that all the time. To be honest, I don't know when that's going to be, but we are planning on moving. So I haven't dedicated so much of my effort and time into creating perennial gardens all throughout the property, but this was a very manageable space for me to grow in and to really learn how to do this. This was the first, like, I've never grown in this climate before, and we are moving south again. We're moving to Tasmania, so I do want to learn how to grow in more of a colder environment. This was a great stepping stone for us, as we were from Brisbane, and previously I had lived in North Queensland before that. So yeah, this was a great space to learn how to do a cottage garden, how to incorporate pathways in, what plants I like, what plants grow together, how to incorporate food and flowers and just beauty. You won't find meticulous gardens on my property at all. I do have a lot of weeds. I have grass encroaching in on the garden beds, and that's just a fact of like gardening. I don't know too many gardens that don't have like full-time employees to maintain gardens that look very beautiful and meticulous. So that's just the fact of our garden. But we also have so much good stuff in our garden because we don't tend to it as much as, you know, some other more professional gardeners. And that is a lot of plants that self-seed, which I am so thankful for in this season of my life particularly. So I wanted to chat through a few of those that have just been really doing well in my garden lately. In the first garden bed over here, I have planted a lot of ranunculus. I had a lot of corms and I just wanted somewhere for them to be planted. So I decided just to plant them in here, and I planted them around everything that was already growing. So we have a lot of self-seeding coriander. That's the first thing that always comes back in our garden. And we have a lot of flowers that come back. So poppies are definitely one that come back. They can tend to be a little invasive. So just check your area, whether poppies, you know, whether it's okay to grow them or not, but they seem to stay contained in my garden. In and amongst here, I also have a rose planted, which is looking so beautiful at the moment, and some other perennials like some chives, lavender. We have a rosemary in here, and they create the structure of that garden. So I just tend to plant around them when I need space, or I plant around what is already growing, like all of the beautiful coriander that is now going to seed. I'll just let it go to seed and go to flower, and we'll have coriander again. I also have coriander just popping up in the cracks of the bricks around, which is so beautiful to see. And sometimes I just let that go to seed and then sprinkle the seeds around the garden, and then we have future coriander. The ranunculus definitely isn't looking fantastic at the moment. It's winter time, and this usually happens once I plant it. It tends to look a little bit yellow, a little bit sad, and then once the days start getting longer, which they are now, now that we're past the winter solstice, I do see an increase in growth of those. I will just keep up some fertilizer with those because they're kind of a heavy crop or a heavy feeding crop. So I like to use Charlie Carp on those, or just worm castings like worm tea. And that seems to they seem to do well from that. But one thing we do have in here is an abundance of parsley, and parsley is probably my favorite herb. I like the curly leaf and the flat leaf, and this is one that I really prioritize letting go to seed. It has such beautiful flowers that I would always use in arrangements. It was kind of like that, just like that really airy, beautiful, lacy kind of texture in a bouquet. So I loved using them for that. And we use parsley in so many different dishes. I'm also going to start giving some herbs to Grayson in his food, just to kind of start really young with herbs and green things in food, so that he doesn't question, you know, what's going into his food. He sees us eating it, so he's going to also eat it, and just adds a bunch of flavour and so many nutrients to his meals and our meals as well. The parsley is growing in all of the different cracks. It's growing out of the bricks. It's growing underneath the rosemary, which is fantastic to kind of just act as a bit of a ground cover around there, and around the sides of the pathway, which is perfect because then I don't have to reach over and grab it, and it just grows perfectly. So if you're, you know, planting parsley, maybe now is a time to sow some seeds if you're in a warm, temperate area like we are, because they grow very quickly at the moment. I also have some silver beet in here, which is a staple green in our household, and that has just started to pick up in growth as well. Along the pathways, I also have some beautiful jonquils that I planted. These are, I cannot remember, I think they're Ehrlichia. I have no idea how to say that, but they are beautiful. They are so scented, probably even too scented for me actually. I can't have them in the house. They're way too strong. And they are actually just about to flower, which is amazing to have so much going on and so much life and flowers in wintertime, which is fantastic. They usually start around now, so they will continue to flower for about the next month or two. And I also have some broad beans, which you'll see at the back. I had to stake them up the other day because we had some really, really strong winds come through, which was not very fun to sleep with. But yeah, they've been staked up. They're just flowering now, so hopefully we get a great crop of broad beans. But you'll see underneath the broad beans and along the side of the pathway is just packed full of plants, and the majority of these are self-sown, they're self-seeding plants. So another one that we get a lot of is dill. Again, I use this in flower bouquets and arrangements. We love eating dill. It's probably a little bit strong for Grayson at the moment, I think, but we personally love eating it and add it into lots of different like salmon patties and fish dishes and salads. There's so many things that you can use dill for. There's also a lot of calendula popping up, some beautiful ones that the colours in them are so vivid and bright of orange and white that has somehow just probably been a mix of different calendulas that we've had around the garden and has created such a beautiful colour now. So that's self-seeded there. We do get a lot of calendula popping up in the garden, and it's nice because it all flowers at once then, so you can kind of get this spray of orange throughout the garden, which makes it look a little bit more cohesive, even though I didn't plant them. Well, I did originally, but they've come back, so it kind of ties the whole cottage garden together. And without it, I think it would look a little bit more messy, quotation marks. But I just love the look of them, and they provide so much benefit for pollinators and all of the different bugs in the garden. Another plant that always comes back is borage, and I can see some in and amongst the broad beans, so that is another one popping up, and I tend to just let it go a bit wild at the back of the garden. That way I can have all of the benefits from borage. I can come through and do like a chop and drop if I want some mulch for somewhere, because it's a fantastic mulch. It is very spiky though, so you definitely have to wear gloves. The purple flowers are beautiful, and they're also edible, and the plant's really nice when you do a chop and drop because it smells like cucumber when you cut the leaves, and that's always nice to have a nice smelling plant. So that's kind of what is going on in that area. I do have some potatoes still in pots down there, and what else do I have? Some hollyhocks planted and some more greens and lavender down there. Just a mix of lots of really great plants that they're all looking really healthy, and I think that's just due to them growing nice and close together, so there's not really much competition with weeds. I really do think they're all working together in that area, with the broad beans fixing nitrogen into the soil, which is then going to feed all of the greens that I have planted there. The borage is also bringing up nutrients from down below, which can then feed the perennials like the lavender and the beautiful Westringia that I have down there, and it just looks really healthy. So planting really close together is something in a cottage garden that I would really recommend doing, and I think really does add to that cottage garden look. I think empty spaces definitely make a garden look a little bit sad, and I have tried to just pack in as many plants as I can, and again, just leave the plants that come up, the ones that you want specifically, and then your garden will just look a lot more full and lush and green. On the other side of that, the other garden bed, we have some more jonquils planted, and this is an area where I had some homemade compost. I laid it down to grow some things, and now I have just a million different plants. I have some red mustard that we've been harvesting, some silver beet that we've been harvesting. I pretty much like pick all of these. I think I filmed it in a video, but I'll pick like a basket of greens from the garden and just fry it up with some onion, garlic, salt and pepper, and that's like a side for a lot of our dinners that we have. They're growing really, really well right now, and is a fantastic plant to add that red colour into a cottage garden. I'm not the biggest fan of bright red, but I do love maroon colours, and the red mustard or Mizuna really does add that colour into the garden. There's also a random acacia that has probably been dropped by a bird there. That's definitely not going to stay there because it will turn into quite a big tree, but acacias are nitrogen fixing plants. I'm just leaving it there for now, and I will probably just come through when it gets bigger, maybe in a few weeks, and just chop it off at the base, use it as mulch, and that'll be that done. But it kind of adds a little bit of structure right now to the end of the garden, and will do because the big hydrangea is going to get a big chop soon, so we'll be saying goodbye to that. just to give it a nice prune before it starts to get new leaves for spring. In this space, I also have some delphiniums planted. These took a long time to get started, I won't lie. I planted them as tiny, really sad seedlings. They've only just now picked up in size, and I'm really hoping that they survive, because I would love to have like some beautiful, tall, blooming delphiniums at the back of the garden for your eye to kind of just be drawn to. Delphiniums are a fantastic plant for that, particularly when they're planted nice and close together. They can be really eye-catching. This was like a purple, white and blue mix, so I'm hoping I get some of those colours. I also have a bunch of things just self-seeding around here. I sprinkled a whole packet of poppy seeds around here, so some of those are coming up now. We've got some more, I've actually got some daffodils in here as well, some bright yellow daffodils, and my fairy garden as well. So this has, I filled it with pansies and violas. It's also got some anemones coming back over the past few years that I've planted some of those in, and that is a really happy space to see all of those thriving. They didn't do too well at the start, but I did keep up with the worm tea and Charlie Carp on those, and they've definitely plumped up again now, all of those pansies, to kind of fill in the boxes and the little wooden well that we have that we plant out with plants. And it's just a nice little magical part of the garden that when Grayson and I do our daily walk through the garden, I can see him always like checking out that area because of the colourful mushrooms, always wanting to kind of like bend down and grab one. So that's really fun for him to see some colour and see some magic in the garden, and fun for me as well because I love fairy gardens. And I also do have a few pots of nasturtiums around. This is the peach melba. I've actually got one here behind me that is flowering. I'd love to make some nasturtium jelly at some time soon, which is a beautiful sweet syrup that is great on yogurt and ice cream. It's not spicy. I know I get a few people comment that on, because I did a video on it a few years ago, commenting that it's really spicy, and it's not. It's beautiful and sweet and floral, and I would highly recommend it if you have some nasturtiums blooming right now. And then in the closest bed here behind me, I've got my compost bin. So I do in situ composting, where I have a compost tumbler and I put all of our food scraps, paper shreds, like shredded paper, cardboard, scraps from the garden, and I mix it all up every week or two, and then I will just lift it up and spread the compost out where it is right now, and that'll be future garden bed for probably something that's a little bit more heavy in that likes a little bit more food, like something like cucumbers or tomatoes or zucchini or pumpkin or something like that. That will be the plan for that space. However, with the compost, you get plants, particularly if you're doing organic gardening and you have a homemade compost. So you'll be able to see I have a lot of plants from this compost. The calendula, I've never had calendula look as healthy as it does in that space there. Some beautiful plants that Grayson also likes picking, and we usually go up, we usually choose a flower or two for Scott each day, where we go and pick a flower and go give that to Scott for his desk to enjoy looking at throughout his meetings. That's a really fun activity that we do, and he loves the orange calendula. I mean, who doesn't? They are so bright and cheery and beautiful in that area. I also do have a tomato that's growing. Not too sure if we'll actually get the tomatoes or whether the bandicoot or another creature will have those tomatoes, but they're there. Because they are so packed full in space, there is a little bit of powdery mildew, so I'm just keeping on top of that, and yeah, just keeping an eye on that. I also do have some leeks that I think they just self-sown there as well from a leek that I had. They're looking very healthy. They're actually now, I think they're in the pathway, and I'll wait a few weeks to harvest those whenever we need some leek for a soup or a stew. And I'm trying my hardest with brassicas, but I'm really not doing that well this year. I don't really want to cover them because I like the look of them, and I don't really have the time to come out and pick off all the caterpillars, and I don't really like spraying. So they're looking a little sad, as is the spinach that I planted around them. I think just I think that area has just been a little bit depleted of nutrients for too long, and I am not adding enough in. So I do have some collards, some Georgia Southern collards planted there. I'm hoping with this, like with the increase in light throughout the days, that they'll just pick up and the plants will be established enough to be able to get through all of the caterpillar damage that is happening with them, because I definitely know there's quite a few caterpillars on those. Because I would like to have some collards, but instead of those, I've also planted some more silver beet on the other side of the compost, just some little, some really sad seedlings that I had. So I just have a rainbow mix of those. So hopefully we'll get some beautiful red spinach, red silver beet, and some yellow ones as well. Would be fun. I have my rose here called Grace. It's a David Austin rose, and I gave that a trim a few weeks ago, and it's just kind of fairly dormant over winter, but it is definitely my most successful rose. My other ones are a little bit sad, but that one has grown really, really well and always produces some beautiful blooms. So I'm excited for that to start growing again. And I also planted some yellow straw flowers on the side of the garden, so they'll kind of create like a little bit of a hedge on that side, along with the wisteria that I have there. And I did have a crepe myrtle. I do have a crepe myrtle, but it just never really grows. So I don't know how well that's going to do. I don't think it's very happy in that spot there. Other than that, I have some plants planted around in pots here. I have a beautiful dusty miller. I have these, which have some nutmeg scented geranium and some little native violets, which are beautiful in the pathway as well. They're kind of popping up around the grass and yeah, just on the side of the pathway, which is really pretty and has that kind of fairy vibe to it. And other than that, that's pretty much all that's happening in the garden. I mean, we have some more food down the back of the property that I'm growing, like have some potatoes. I did that like little chaos garden where I sprinkled heaps of radish seeds. I think I saw a few germinate the other day, so I'm hoping in a week or so we'll see some more germination of those. And that's about it, because we are just growing a nice, small, manageable garden this year. It's definitely my favourite time of the year to be outside and be in the garden. I love the cool air. It's very fresh and very refreshing. I can think clearly. I feel very creative around this time of year, and I know a lot of you also feel the same. Winters on the south coast of New South Wales are beautiful, in my opinion. Definitely not too cold, and yeah, just the right amount of chill and frosty mornings, which we've been enjoying lately. Like always, I would love to know what's happening in your garden. I love reading all of your comments about what you're planting right now, what's happening in your garden. I'm definitely very excited to see where this garden is going to go, and excited to just nurture the areas that are growing by themselves right now, give them a little helping hand with some food like Charlie Carp and worm tea, but otherwise just leave them be and leave all of the plants that are self-seeding to kind of just do their thing, because they end up being very healthy and producing a lot of food for us. It's also beautiful to see all of the life in this garden, even though it is like in the middle of winter. There's so many pollinators throughout the day that I see in the garden. So many bees and so many birds that enjoy this space alongside us. So let this be an encouragement to build biodiversity in your garden, both above ground and below in the soil as well, to encourage just really healthy plant growth and just improve your overall ecosystem in your area. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any specific questions, let me know. I can chat through different areas of the garden, or if there's plants you saw that you're not too sure about how to grow or what they are, please do let me know, and I can these videos are quite easy for me to film because I can just come down with a cup of tea and sit and chat and then kind of film on top of it and film some overlays throughout the day. So if there's any topics that you'd like me to just sit down and chat about, even if they're not specifically cottage garden related or growing food, if you want to know more about flower farming or even motherhood and gardening and just how motherhood is going, please do let me know. I'll probably ask on Instagram soon for like a Q&A. So if you do have any questions, like just leave them in the comments down below, because I would like to sit down and do like a little bit of a life update video over the next few weeks, with all of our moving stuff going on, house building, just day-to-day life. I would love to just update you all on what's happening with that. So leave any questions that you have down below, and I'll try and do another kind of sit down chatty video, which is a little bit more podcast style. Would love to get back into the podcast eventually as well. We'll get there eventually. So I'm just going to go and enjoy the rest of my cup of tea, but thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed, make sure to give it a like and subscribe for lots more content. It does really help me out and is completely free for you. But thank you for being here. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are in the world. And until my next one, happy gardening, everyone. Bye.